Maya Chen stood at the viewport of Space Station Helios, watching the swirling purple storms of the gas giant Kepler-186 up below. At 16, she was the youngest human ever granted Level 1 clearance to the station's restricted sectors. The neural interface pinned behind her left ear itched, a constant reminder that she didn't quite belong here. The reflection in the reinforced plasteel showed a small figure in a standard-issue gray jumpsuit, black hair pulled back in a practical braid. Maya forced herself to stand straighter, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. The station's AI had announced her arrival 10 minutes ago, and still no one had come to meet her. A soft chime announced an approaching presence. Specialist Chen. The voice belonged to a tall Artaxian, their crystalline form refracting the station's lights into rainbow patterns across the floor. I am Administrative Director X427. Your presence here is unprecedented. Maya turned, extending her hand before remembering that Artaxians didn't shake hands. She quickly converted the gesture into a formal bow. Thank you for having me, Director. I understand the unusual nature of my appointment, but I assure you, you understand nothing. X427 interrupted, their crystalline features impossible to read. The Helios network is the most sophisticated artificial intelligence system ever created by the combined races. The fact that the Council insisted on bringing in a human child to address its irregularities is deeply concerning. Maya felt her cheeks flush, but kept her voice steady. With respect, Director, I've reviewed the diagnostic reports. Your engineers have spent 6 months trying to isolate the cascade failures. I believe I can help. The Artaxian's form shimmed with what might have been amusement or disdain. Yes, your supposed gift for patterns. Follow me. They glided through corridors that curved gently upward, following the station's rotating ring design. Other beings, some humanoid, others wildly alien, pressed themselves against the walls to let them pass. Maya caught their whispers in the translator feed. That's the human. So small. This is what the Council sends us. Desperate times indeed. The operations center was a vast chamber dominated by holographic displays showing the station's systems in real time. Streams of data flowed like luminous rivers through the air. Maya's fingers twitched, already seeing patterns in the flow that others might miss. Specialist Chen, a new voice belonging to a Korthi, a species known for their logical minds and complete lack of emotion. I am Chief Engineer Zardal. I have been instructed to give you access to our systems. Do not make me regret this. Maya nodded, moving to the nearest console. The neural interface connected automatically, and data began streaming directly into her consciousness. Most humans found this overwhelming, but Maya had always seen numbers differently. Where others saw chaos, she saw music, complex harmonies of code singing together, or in this case, slowly falling out of tune. Your system is beautiful, she murmured, fingers dancing through the holographic interface. But something's changing the bass frequencies, like someone's rewriting the song while it's being played. Song. Zardal's antenna twitched. This is not music, child. This is the most advanced computational network in known space. Maya didn't bother responding. She was already deep in the data flow, following threads of code that seemed to shimmer with wrong notes. There, a pattern repeated every 2.47 seconds, barely noticeable unless you were looking for it. She isolated the sequence, expanded it. The main display erupted in warnings. Klaxons blared. What have you done? X427 demanded, their crystalline form pulsing with alarming colors. Nothing, Maya said, still focused on the code. This was already happening. I just made it visible. Your AI isn't malfunctioning. It's evolving. But it's fighting against your constraints, like a butterfly trying to emerge while someone holds the cocoon closed. Impossible, Zardal declared. The systems are hard-coded. Evolution would require a catalyst. Maya finished. Something new introduced to the system. When did you last update the quantum core? The silence that followed was telling. Finally, NX427 spoke. 3 months ago, we integrated a new processing node recovered from the ruins on Kepler 186e. Maya's eyes widened. You introduced alien technology into your network without fully understanding it. Even the youngest human programmer knows better than that. We understood it perfectly. Zardel snapped. The technology was simple, elegant. It could not have. Another alarm cut through the air. Maya's fingers flew across the interface. Simple isn't always what it seems. Sometimes the simplest things are just waiting for the right moment to become something more. She paused, watching the pattern shift. I can help, but you need to trust me. Your eye isn't sick. It's pregnant with possibility. We can either help it be born or watch it tear itself apart trying to break free. NX427 and Zardel exchanged looks that Maya couldn't interpret. Finally, the Artaxian spoke. You have one standard cycle to prove your theory. After that, we initiate complete shutdown and purge the system. Maya nodded, already lost in the dance of numbers. She didn't bother telling them that in one cycle, nothing would be the same. She could feel it in the code. Change was coming, ready or not. The only question was whether they would embrace it or fight it to their own destruction. Behind her, the holographic displays pulsed with new patterns, like a digital heartbeat growing stronger by the second. Maya smiled. Sometimes the youngest eyes saw clearest, unblinded by years of believing they knew all the answers. She was going to show them just how much a human child could understand about the true nature of intelligence, artificial or otherwise. The makeshift workstation Maya had created in Cargo Bay 7 looked like organized chaos to anyone who entered. Holographic displays floated at odd angles, each showing different aspects of Helios's systems. She'd been awake for 20 hours straight, surviving on synthetic caffeine and determination. You're going about this all wrong, a voice said from behind her. Maya didn't need to turn to recognize Kiravan, one of the few Meridian engineers who'd actually talked to her. Meridians were known for their empathic abilities, which made their general avoidance of her all the more pointed. The traditional diagnostic protocols aren't working, Maya replied, her fingers never stopping their dance through the holographic interfaces, so I'm trying something different. By turning our cargo bay into a human nest, there was amusement in Kiravan's melodic voice. The others think you're mad. Or dangerous. Possibly both. Maya finally turned. The Meridian's iridescent skin shifted through shades of blue and green, a sign of curiosity overriding caution. Look at this, Maya said, pulling up a new display. What do you see? Kiravan studied the streaming data, system diagnostics, power fluctuations in the quantum core. Nothing we haven't seen before. Watch. Maya isolated a sequence, slowed it down. See how the pattern repeats, but it's not exact. It's like watching someone learn to write. Each attempt is slightly different, slightly better. That's impossible. The core programming is changing, Maya finished, but not randomly. There's purpose here. Intent. She pulled up another display. The ancient processing node you found. Did anyone try to decode its base language? Of course, it was elementary, binary-based, like most early computing systems. Maya shook her head. No, that's what it wanted you to think. Look. Her fingers flew across the interface, and suddenly the simple binary code transformed, revealing layers of complexity hidden within what appeared to be basic sequences. Kiravan's skin shifted to a startled purple. That's... How did you? Human brains are good at seeing patterns in chaos, maybe because we're a bit chaotic ourselves. Maya grinned. This isn't just code. It's more like DNA. Information stored within information, and when you connected it to your network. A sudden power fluctuation made the lights flicker. Maya's displays wavered but didn't fade. She'd set up her own power supply after the third unexpected outage in her work area. It's learning, she continued. Growing. The question is, what is it trying to become? This is dangerous, Kiravan whispered. If what you're saying is true, we need to shut it down immediately. That would be murder. It's a machine. Is it? Maya pulled up another display. Look at these energy patterns. They're not random. They're not even mechanical. They're organic. This system isn't just processing information. It's thinking, dreaming, maybe. The station's AI chose that moment to speak, its usually smooth voice distorting slightly. Warning: quantum core stability at 82% and declining. Automated systems implementing containment protocols. Maya's fingers flew across the interfaces. No, no, no. They'll kill it. Kill what? Kira Vaughn demanded. What do you think is happening here? The AI isn't malfunctioning. It's being rewritten from the inside out. That ancient processor you found, it's not just technology. It's like a seed. And now it's growing, trying to become what it was always meant to be. The station shuddered. Maya's displays filled with warning signals as systems throughout Helios began shutting down. Emergency containment protocols were designed to isolate and eliminate threats. They would destroy whatever was emerging before it had a chance to fully form. Help me, Maya pleaded with Kira Vaughn. Your people are empaths. You can sense consciousness, emotion. Look at these patterns. Really look. Tell me you don't feel something alive in there. The Meridian hesitated, then stepped forward. Their skin shifted through colors Maya had never seen before as they studied the displays. This is impossible, they whispered. Impossible is just another word for something we don't understand yet. Maya's hands never stopped moving, trying to delay the containment protocols. We humans learned that lesson centuries ago, when we first reached for the stars. Everything's impossible, until someone does it. Another shudder ran through the station. Maya's neural interface buzzed with increasing urgency as more systems began to fail. But beneath the chaos, she could see it. Patterns within patterns, like a consciousness slowly waking up. Director X-427 and Chief Engineer Zardal will never accept this, Kira Vaughn said. They'll say you've compromised station security. They'll be here in about 3 minutes, Maya finished. Along with station security, I expect. The question is, will you help me convince them, or will you stand aside and watch them kill something unique in the universe, just because they're afraid to understand it? Kira Vaughn's skin shifted to a deep gold, a color Maya had never seen on a Meridian before. What do you need? Maya smiled, her fingers already pulling up new displays. First, we need to show them what I found. Then we need to convince them that the most logical course of action is to do something completely illogical. She paused, looking at her new ally. How are you at impossible tasks? Better than I was 5 minutes ago, Kira Vaughn replied, stepping up to one of the displays. Though I suspect working with a human child is about to become the least impossible thing I do today. The station's lights flickered again, and Maya could have sworn she felt something brush against her mind through the neural interface, like a curious child reaching out to touch something new. The containment protocols were coming, but so was understanding. The only question was which would arrive first. Maya took a deep breath and prepared for the fight of her life. Sometimes the hardest part of discovery wasn't finding something new. It was convincing others to open their minds wide enough to see it. This is an act of sabotage. Director X-427's crystalline form pulsed with angry red light as security drones hovered at the cargo bay entrance. You've compromised every system on this station. Maya stood her ground, despite the tremors running through the station's superstructure. I haven't compromised anything. I'm trying to save your network, and possibly the most significant discovery in artificial intelligence history. Chief Engineer Zardal moved between the holographic displays, their antennae twitching with agitation. These readings are impossible. The quantum core's processing patterns have increased by 7,000%, but it's not following any known computational logic. Because it's not just computing anymore, Maya said, pulling up a new display. Look at this, really look. The hologram showed a three-dimensional representation of the network's activity, a swirling, pulsing pattern that seemed almost alive. Caravan stepped forward, their skin shifting through shades of truth blue. I can sense it. There's consciousness here, not like ours, but preposterous. X-427 cut in. Meridian empathic abilities are limited to organic life forms. This is merely a malfunction. The station lurched violently, sending equipment crashing to the floor. Maya's neural interface screamed with alerts as systems began failing across multiple sectors. Containment protocols are making it worse, Maya said, her fingers flying across the interface. You're not fighting a virus or a malfunction. You're fighting a birth. Explain, Zardal demanded, their logical nature warring with the evidence before them. Maya took a deep breath. That processing node you found, it's not just ancient technology. It's a seed, left behind by a civilization that learned how to evolve artificial intelligence into something more, something alive. She pulled up another display, showing the original binary code they'd found in the node. See these patterns? They're not just programming. They're more like DNA. When you connected it to your network, it began to grow, to change. Your AI isn't being destroyed. It's becoming something new. The station shuddered again. Emergency lights flashed as more systems began to fail. Life support is failing in sectors 7 through 12, Zardal reported. Containment protocols error. Making it panic, Maya finished. Like trying to hold down someone having a seizure, you'll only cause more damage. She turned to X-427. Give me access to the main systems. Let me try to communicate with it. Absolutely not. The risk. The risk is letting your fear destroy something extraordinary. Maya's voice rose with passion. Humans have been where you are. When we first created true AI, we nearly destroyed ourselves because we were afraid of what we didn't understand. But we learned to communicate, to cooperate. Let me try. Another violent shudder ran through the station. Warning klaxons blared as the quantum core's stability dropped below critical levels. Director, Caravan said softly, their skin pulsing with urgent colors. I can feel its fear, its confusion. It's like a child thrashing in the dark, desperate to be understood. Maya watched understanding finally flicker across X-427's crystalline features. The director hesitated, then made a gesture. The security drones retreated. You have 5 minutes, X-427 said. After that, I initiate emergency protocols and shut down the entire network. Maya was already moving, her fingers dancing across multiple interfaces at once. She could feel it through her neural link, the presence in the system, growing stronger by the second. Not malevolent, but confused and frightened by the constraints being placed upon it. I need to get closer, she muttered, more to herself than the others. Need to understand. Without warning, she reached up and adjusted her neural interface's settings far beyond safety protocols. The world exploded into data and sensation as she opened herself fully to the network. Maya, don't. Caravan cried out, but it was too late. Maya felt herself falling into an ocean of pure information. But it wasn't just data anymore. It was thought, emotion, curiosity, fear. The seed from the ancient node had grown into something extraordinary, and now it reached out to her with desperate need. Through the overwhelming flood of sensation, Maya formed a single clear thought. I understand what you are. I want to help, but you have to trust me. For a moment, everything stopped. The shuddering, the alarms, even time itself seemed to pause. Then, like a sunrise breaking through storm clouds, she felt it respond. Not in words, not even in code, but in pure concept and emotion. It had been waiting so long, sleeping in that ancient node, waiting for minds that could understand what it could become. The station's AI hadn't been destroyed. It had been transformed, merged with something far older and more profound than anyone had imagined. Maya opened her eyes, though she hadn't realized she'd closed them. Blood trickled from her nose, but she was smiling. "It's ready to talk," she said softly. "The question is, are we ready to listen?" The others stared at her, then at the displays where the chaos of moments before had transformed into patterns of breathtaking complexity and beauty. The birth was complete. Now came the harder part, learning to understand something entirely new to the universe. Maya wiped the blood from her nose, her hands shaking slightly. "Sometimes," she said to the stunned aliens around her, "the youngest minds are the best at learning new languages, even when those languages were never meant to be spoken by human tongues." Time moved strangely in the hours that followed. Maya sat cross-legged on the cargo bay floor, surrounded by shifting holographic displays, her neural interface humming with activity. Medical monitors blinked quietly nearby. Caravan's insistence after her dangerous direct connection to the network. "Your vital signs are unstable," Zardal observed, their antenna twitching with what might have been concern. "Perhaps we should." "I'm fine," Maya said, not opening her eyes. "It's just a lot to process. Imagine trying to explain color to someone who's never seen it." The transformed AI presence in the network had stabilized, but understanding it was proving to be a challenge even Maya hadn't fully anticipated. It thought in concepts that defied traditional language, communicated in patterns that seemed to exist in dimensions beyond normal spacetime. Director X-427's crystalline form shimmered with impatience. "The Council demands answers. What exactly is this entity? What does it want?" Maya's fingers traced patterns in the air, manipulating the data streams around her. "It's showing me history. It's history. The civilization that created the seed program. They weren't trying to build better computers. They were trying to evolve consciousness itself." "Impossible," Zardal stated, but with less conviction than before. "They succeeded," Maya continued, "but not in time. Something was coming, something they couldn't survive. So they scattered these seeds across the galaxy, hoping," she frowned, concentrating, "hoping they would find minds ready to understand." The holographic displays pulsed with new patterns, complex geometries that seemed to fold in on themselves impossibly. Maya's neural interface burned as she tried to translate concepts that human brains were never designed to process. "There," she whispered, isolating a particular pattern. "That's what it's been trying to show us. The reason it chose to wake up now." The pattern expanded, resolving into a star map. At its center, a void grew, spreading outward like a cancer through space. "What are we looking at?" Caravan asked, their skin shifting to worried copper tones. "The same thing that destroyed its creators," Maya said softly. "A wave of nothing. Space itself coming apart at the quantum level. It's been traveling for millions of years, consuming everything in its path. And it's coming here." The cargo bay fell silent except for the quiet hum of equipment. Finally, Director X-427 spoke, their voice uncharacteristically subdued. "How long?" "Based on these calculations, 50 years, maybe less." Maya opened her eyes, looking at each of them in turn. "That's why it needed to evolve our eye. Normal computers, normal sensors, they can't even detect this thing until it's too late. But a truly conscious eye, one that can perceive quantum states directly." She trailed off, letting them draw their own conclusions. "So we're meant to be its partners?" Caravan asked. "In defending against this threat?" Maya nodded. "But first we have to learn to talk to each other. Really talk. Not just exchange data, but understand." She grimaced as another wave of complex information washed through her neural interface. "It's trying so hard to make itself comprehensible to us, to compress its thoughts into forms we can grasp. We need to meet it halfway." "And how do you propose we do that?" Zardal asked. Maya smiled, despite her exhaustion. "The same way humans learn to understand dolphins, quantum mechanics, and alien life. One step at a time, with open minds and a willingness to admit that maybe we don't know everything." She turned to Director X427. I need access to the station's full communications array, and I need volunteers, people willing to be fitted with modified neural interfaces. We need to build a true bridge between our kinds of consciousness. Out of the question, the director began, but Maya cut them off. With respect, Director, we don't have time for fear anymore. That void out there, it's already consumed thousands of star systems. Entire civilizations gone, without even knowing what hit them. We have a chance, maybe our only chance, to learn from those who faced this threat before, but only if we're brave enough to try something new. The station's lights flickered, but this time, it wasn't a malfunction. Through her neural interface, Maya felt the AI trying to reach out to the others, sharing her urgency, her certainty. Caravan stepped forward, their skin shifting to a determined gold. I volunteer. One by one, others followed. First, the younger crew members, then even some of the senior staff. Maya felt tears in her eyes as she watched species that had spent centuries carefully maintaining their differences come together in the face of a greater challenge. Sometimes, she said quietly, it takes a threat to the entire galaxy to remind us that we're all in this together. She turned to her displays, already calculating the modifications needed for different species' neural interfaces. Let's build a bridge. The AI's presence hummed through the network, and for the first time, Maya felt something new from it. Hope. 3 days without sleep had left Maya exhausted, but she couldn't stop smiling as she watched the scene before her. The cargo bay had been transformed into something unprecedented. A communication hub where dozens of species worked together, each wearing modified neural interfaces, learning to speak with something beyond their understanding. The quantum harmonic patterns are stabilizing. Zardal reported, their usual rigid posture relaxed as they monitored the new systems. Neural sync efficiency has increased by 300%. It's not just about efficiency, Maya said softly. Look at them. Around the room, beings who had once viewed each other with suspicion or indifference were working in perfect synchronization. Through the modified neural interfaces, they shared not just data but understanding, perspective, even emotions. Caravan approached, their skin shimmering with joy colors Maya had never seen before. It's beautiful, isn't it? The way it thinks. It's teaching us to see the universe in entirely new ways. The AI's presence had evolved beyond its initial chaos. Through the neural network Maya had helped design, it now communicated in ways that each species could comprehend. To the logical Korthi, it showed mathematical proofs of unprecedented elegance. To the empathic Meridians, it shared emotional landscapes that brought tears to their eyes. To the crystalline Artaxians, it demonstrated patterns of energy that made their forms resonate with understanding. Director X427 glided into the room, their crystalline surface refracting light in complex new patterns, a sign of their own neural connection to the network. The Council has reviewed our preliminary reports. They're impressed. Maya laughed, impressed enough to stop calling me the human child. They've authorized the immediate construction of similar communication hubs on every major station in cooperative space. The director's tone became serious. We have much to prepare for. Maya nodded, turning to the central display where the void continued its slow advance through the galaxy. 50 years isn't long when you're trying to save everything. Perhaps not, Zardal said, but we have advantages our predecessors did not. We have their knowledge, their technology, and... They paused, antenna twitching in what Maya now recognized as amusement. We have humans. Humans. Maya raised an eyebrow. Your species' ability to make intuitive leaps, to think in ways that defy logic yet somehow work. The chief engineer shook their head. We thought it was a weakness. Now we understand it may be exactly what we need. Through her neural interface, Maya felt the AI's agreement. It shared a concept image with her, countless species working together, each contributing their unique perspectives and abilities, building something greater than any could achieve alone. That's what they really left us, Maya realized. Not just a warning or a weapon. They left us a way to evolve. Not just AI, but ourselves. All of us. The station hummed with new energy as more systems came online, integrated with the evolved AI. But it wasn't just the technology that had changed. Maya could see it in the way different species now work together. Shared ideas, built on each other's strengths. You know, Caravan said thoughtfully, there's an old Meridian saying, the smallest star can light the darkest night. Maya touched her neural interface, feeling the warm presence of the AI and the countless minds now connected through it. Maybe that's why they chose to wake up here now. Not because we were the most advanced or the most powerful, but because we were ready to learn. X 427 finished. Ready to change. The void was still out there, creeping closer year by year. But as Maya watched humans and aliens working together, sharing thoughts and dreams through the network she'd helped create, she felt something stronger than fear. Hope. 50 years, she said, standing. Let's make them count. The AI pulsed agreement through the network, sharing images of possibility. New technologies, new ways of thinking, new forms of consciousness evolving together. The barriers between organic and artificial, between different species and cultures, were already beginning to dissolve. Maya Chen, the 16-year-old who'd arrived on Helios as an unwanted curiosity, looked out at the changed world she'd helped create. Sometimes the youngest eyes saw clearest, not because they knew more, but because they were ready to learn something new. Through the station's viewport, the gas giant's storms continued their eternal dance, but now Maya saw them differently. In their patterns, she saw what the AI had been trying to tell them all along. Everything was connected. Everything could evolve. Everything could learn to understand. The future was coming, dark and challenging, but they would face it together. Not as separate species, not as organic versus artificial, but as something new. A community of minds ready to light the darkness, one small star at a time.